My name's Douglas Cairns. I have type 1 diabetes. Actually had it for 34 years. And at that time, I was a Royal Air Force pilot, an instructor on jet provost. And when I was diagnosed, obviously it was a change of career. It was a bitter blow at the age of 25. And so I had to change career and eventually got back to flying privately, though, in the USA in year 2000. And then in 2002, I took a couple of years off my new career, which is in the fund management industry, and carried out a wonderful personal project, which was called Diabetes World Flight. So it was a round-the-world flight at the controls of a very lovely twin-engine aircraft over 5 months and through 22 countries, and really to raise positive awareness of what we can do with diabetes when it comes to flying, and just generally that diabetes should not limit the scope of people's dreams and ambitions.
But the aviation authorities have questioned your abilities over the years?
Over the years, yes. So when I was diagnosed in 1989, you couldn't fly anywhere in the world, even on a private pilot's license, let alone have a professional career in the military or civil aviation. That gradually changed. In 1997, Canada introduced private flying and also commercial flying. And then the USA introduced private flying in the same year. The UK introduced to a very limited basis about 2000, I think it was 2002, but then on a much better basis or more all-encompassing basis, they enabled people to fly privately without restriction and commercially in two-crew cockpit environments. So more countries have joined in, but even now there are really only 8 countries around the world that will allow commercial flying for pilots with insulin-treated diabetes, and the same number of countries for private flying as well. So it's still very restrictive. And the authorities, some of the activities that I've done, I was kind of really trying to push the agenda for aviation authorities to open the doors to pilots with diabetes to fly. So it wasn't always very popular, but it's been wonderful to be able to do a whole series of very exciting projects over the years, breaking records in America to land in all 48 contiguous states, another year to land in all 50 US states, including Washington, D.C., and then I took the same lovely twin-engine aircraft up to the North Pole in 2011 to set a speed record between Barrow, Alaska, the North Pole, and then landed on the ice at an ice camp called Borneo. And that was a wonderful project. So I've been very lucky to be able to get back to flying in a very meaningful way and do some really exciting projects. And if it helps raise awareness positively for people living with diabetes, I'm extremely happy about that.
This is your first time attending one of these events, I think, isn't it?
It is, yes, because previously I've given talks at your Diabetes Research and Wellness Days, but I think I attended just briefly. And there was one year where I tried to do an aerial display over your hotel in the south of England, and I think I got to within 2 miles, but then a big bolt of lightning suddenly appeared in the front of the aircraft. I had to turn back. I just couldn't fly over the hotel. But yes, first time I've attended the whole conference.
So what have you got from today? What have you picked up, and what are your thoughts about this kind of event?
Oh, well, I'm a big fan of diabetes conferences. I've spoken at many in the USA, actually kind of almost around the world, here in the UK as well. And your one-day conference is great to get people together. Really good lineup of exhibitors and companies here, and it's just a very good educational event for people with diabetes to attend.
Do you have a top tip for people living with diabetes?
I think, well, knowledge is power and empowerment, and I think for me, certainly managing diabetes and doing some quite challenging flying projects, that's very much been a big mantra of mine. But it's just, really you can bash your head with life and do pretty much anything you put your mind to. So yeah, diabetes need not limit the scope of anyone's dreams or ambitions.
And you did tell a funny story about your safety pilot. If you can just share that with us.
Oh yes, yes, in America, so the medical for flying only allows you to fly in the American borders. This was prior to 2020, and I had to fly from Seattle up to Ketchikan in Alaska, which is a 4-hour flight, and it was the end of a 5.5-day record flight to around all 50 US states. So I had to have a safety pilot legally to sit beside me between Seattle and Alaska as I flew over Canada. So I had a 74-year-old gentleman, and rather amusingly, halfway through that flight, it was about 11 or 12 o'clock at night, and I looked over to see the safety pilot was absolutely fast asleep. So it was wonderful. I needed a safety pilot legally, but he was asleep at the control. Oh, well, while I was flying. It was very funny.
Fantastic.
Good. Thank you.
Thank you.